Hey everyone, and welcome back to Recap Stories. Today we're going to look at a little sci-fi film called Project Gemini. Please like and subscribe, and spoilers ahead. The film starts as a deadly pathogen is affecting and killing off all of Earth's plant life. The only chance for survival is Project Gemini, created by Dr. Stephen Ross. Built on the finding of two extraterrestrial devices deep in an archaeological dig. One is a warp engine capable of interstellar flight, which will help locate a new planet to terraform. The other a sphere capable of creating life. The sphere is what started life on Earth. We're shown the team that will be taking on this endeavor to save the human race, along with some military pilots that will accompany them. They're heading to a planet light years away from Earth, with all the right conditions to start Earth 2.0. The shuttle takes off as the team is heading towards their mission. Inside the ship, Peter and another scientist, David, check on the warp drive. They question who or what left this machine behind. We see an odd formation forming on the sphere, but I'm sure it's nothing. They buckle in as they're about to take the very first warp jump in history. They all hold on to sentimental mementos from their loved ones, unaware of what waits for them. They engage the drive and there's a critical error. Everyone blacks out from the stress of it all. We see the ship slip through a wormhole. The crew awakes and find they're in the wrong place. Steven, ever the optimist, tells them the mission has failed and Earth is doomed. They're trying to figure out where they are, but there are no landmarks or anything remotely familiar. A warning sound saying that an unidentified object is approaching. The body of Peter hits the window as he jettisoned himself as he felt responsible for their current predicament. A woman named Leona claims there's no way he would have done this, but Steven isn't having her sobbing as Peter is the reason the mission is in jeopardy. They're trying to calculate their position based on the stars around them. However, they just so happen to find a planet even better suited for their goal than the one they intended to go to. Steven thinks the sphere brought them here. He tells Ryan they can complete the mission on this planet and asks Richard to prepare to land. They all seem against it, but Steven makes the final call. A smaller shuttle undocks from the ship as they make their way to the alien planet. Turbulence from an incoming storm rocks the ship. The ship is taking on structural damage as they brace for impact. They make it, but just barely. Ryan contacts Richard to see what the damage is. Nothing critical, but they're almost out of fuel. So unfortunately, they're stuck on the planet now. The team readies the sphere to be taken out to the planet, and we see some kind of slime leaking down into the ship. They come into a cave and begin to set up the sphere. Richard is still aboard the main ship and finds some of that slime on the wall. Why must people always touch unknown substances without gloves? They activate the sphere and it fires a blue beam into the sky. Back on the ship, and Ryan tells the crew martial law is now in effect as they have new information. We see a playback of Peter entering the engine room and something attacks him. Whatever it is hit in the sphere and damaged their shuttle. Steven goes to check on the sphere, but Ryan tells him no one leaves and he's in charge now. They play back footage showing Steven meeting this being prior to even leaving Earth and not telling anyone about it. He's been hiding things from the group. Ryan blames Peter's death on him because of it. Steven talks to David secretly and tells him they need to go and reprogram the sphere. The longer they wait, the more people die. They return to the sphere and it's creating new alien life at a much quicker rate. The two men run off as whatever came with the sphere is returned. Strange noises are heard and we see shadows along the cave walls. They run from the cave and we see something chasing after them. The men board the ship and argue with one another. Ryan confronts Steven and punches him in the mouth. Suddenly a warning signal goes off. Part of the ship has been compromised. Leona awakes to the alarm and strange sounds. The movie needed an excuse to get the only woman in her underwear. She slowly walks and steps in more of that slime. One of the soldiers grabs her, telling her to be quiet. The Trojan, as they call this thing, it is on the lander. They enter a room that appears to produce their oxygen, but they aren't alone. The Trojan is in there too. He tells her to run as the Trojan attacks him. She finds the other men and tells them it's in the laboratory. The Trojan came in through the cooling unit, a thinner part of the ship. They plan on smoking it out and reinforcing that part. Steven says he'll go as this is all his fault. Leona is finally wearing clothes and they get the security cameras working again. Steven hears weird noises and is yanked back into the room with a cable before the Trojan can attack. They now plan on leading it out of the ship by using themselves as decoys. I think the writers watched Alien 3 once or twice. Ryan bangs the ship with his gun to get the thing's attention. We briefly see it before he closes a door. They want to lead it near the engine so they can use whatever remaining fuel is left to roast it. Leona is next up as the thing chases off after her. But she manages to enter another room before it can grab her. Steven is running as the Trojan is after him, however the engines won't fire as the Trojan is messing with them. Leona goes out and fires at the Trojan to get its attention, however the engine fires and disintegrates her. Steven gets in just in time, but David is injured and a piece of the Trojan's tentacle is cut off by the door. David is resting while Steven looks at the tentacle to see what he could be infected with. Apparently David's blood is now the key to creating a way of fighting the pathogen back on Earth. Steven tells Ryan they need to kill this bio-robot Trojan thing and reconfigure the sphere. But Ryan tells him no, enough people have died, and locks him in the room while telling him he's under arrest. David tells him Ryan is right. You don't care about people's lives and just want to play hero. Steven tells Richard instead of calculating their position as spatial, calculate their position as time going back 4 billion years. Richard does, and they didn't move in space but in time. They're on Earth, just 4 billion years in the past. The sphere that's here is the same one that was on Earth. They plan on sending a message through the sphere to let current day people know how to create a way of fighting the pathogen. Ryan is planning on blowing up the sphere, but Richard unlocks the airlock and tells Steven he has to stop him. Steven tries talking to him, but he just won't listen. He's adamant on killing the Trojan and destroying the sphere. Ryan is suddenly shot by David, his infection taking over, making him delirious. David says they're not supposed to be here, they're a mistake, and he tries to kill Steven. Steven shoots him and David walks off saying people don't deserve a chance. Steven heads out firing off a flare to get the Trojan's attention. He plans on leading it in and blowing the entire ship up. Steven and David fire at one another as the Trojan breaks through a door. The mechanical creature gets face to face with Steven, but right before it attacks, he shoots it, giving him an opening to escape. The Trojan chases after him through the ship. He comes to a room and is struck by David. David is about to shoot, but the Trojan kills him, driving right through his back. Steven rushes out of the ship as it explodes, killing all within. Richard tries paging any survivors and Steven calls him back, telling him they're all dead. Steven only has an hour of oxygen left as his tank was damaged. He's going to go to the sphere to leave his message for present-day Earth. We see his girlfriend in the present activating the sphere, and now she can see Steven. He tells her he's in the distant past and doesn't have much time. He gives her the antigen formula that can be used to stop the pathogen. Steven is cut off and alone in the cave, breathing his last breath. We see his girlfriend now with new flourishing plants as we pull out from the Earth and the film comes to an end. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know in the comments if you've watched this film and what you thought of it. And if you haven't, if you could like and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you all for watching and take care.